Okay, good morning. I'm Major General Sean Gainey, the Director of the Joint Counter-U.S. Office. And yes, I'm still the Director of the Joint Counter-U.S. Office, those that have known me doing this job for the past 3 years. And it's an honor to be back at the Army's Warrior Corner to present what we, as the Army, as the executive agent, are doing reference the counter-small UAS problem set. Today will be a group effort. I have a team with me. A quick introduction of my team. I have Sergeant Major Johnson, my Sergeant Major, who will highlight and talk some of the training aspects of getting after the small UAS problem set. Mike Parent, my RNC Division Chief. And I have Jonathan Hester, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Hester, my Requirements Division Chief, and he'll talk a little bit how we get after requirements in this problem set. As I highlighted, next slide, as I highlighted, the Army is the DOD's executive agent for counter-small UAS. We've been doing this for about the past 3 years. And what I want to leave you with today is, yes, the threat is real, and I think we all know that from what we've been seeing, not only in the news, but just anytime you hear about small UASs and what they have the capability of doing. The threat is rapidly evolving. We know that, and I'll highlight it to you, to those that you don't know it, and provide you some visuals. Although I can't show you some of the successes we are having in some of our contingency locations, our systems are having success against this threat, and we have to continue aggressively developing capability, working with our industry partners to get after this evolving threat that I highlighted earlier. We also have to continue to build the training capacity. This is an area that wasn't on the forefront as we started to get into this mission set, and Sergeant Major will talk to you a little bit about how we're getting after that problem set. And we have to work closely with our partners, because it's key that as much as you can work closely with not only our joint teammates, but also our coalition partners, it's important to get after this threat out there. So if you look at the slide up here, our focus is the group 1 through 3 UAS problem set. You know, I know it's defined by 5 groups. 4 and 5, we defer to the integrated air and missile defense problem set, but groups 1 through 3 is our focus, whether it's the small quadcopter out there or the one-way attacks we're seeing in Ukraine, CENTCOM, in other locations out there. And if you look across the bottom, that shows how the threat is employing prominently these UASs as a threat platform. You know, whether it's ISR from long distance, enabling threat forces to call for fire in a more accurate, precise manner, or if it's dropping some sort of ordnance or one-way attack to create a kinetic effect. We're seeing it all out there. Go to the next slide. So if you hit on the slide, this sort of really illustrates some of the areas I was talking about when we're talking about threat platforms and the capability of those threat platforms. So go ahead and hit the square. And as you can see, very easy to launch any of these threat sets. Easily to train to be able to do this, strap small ordnance, or you have some of that larger quadcopters, larger ordnance, to create some sort of effect out there, small or large. And imagine not only on a small scale, but if you put this on a large scale. And I like to group the emerging threat really into 3 categories. Mass, the threat is looking at ways, how can they coordinate mass attacks where you have several hundred of these attacking you at one time, attempting to overwhelm the operator, our radars, and saturate our system. Speed, looking to have capability where threat platforms can move faster than our current systems are capable of attacking. If you think taking a group 3 one-way attack and turn it into almost a small type cruise missile. And then autonomy is the other area. You know, a lot of these systems, initial systems, were developed to cut the link, jam the link. Well, now the adversary is evolving to where they're going to be less reliant on that leak and look at ways to fly, whether it's waypoint, optical flow, or leverage some sort of GPS as they move forward. Next slide. And so as you look at this slide is just a quick caption of it's more than a material problem. You know, the biggest question I always get is, what are you developing next? Well, it's not a silver bullet answer to this problem set. It's going to take a layered approach, several systems to get after different compartments of these threats. And you also have to work in the non-material portion of it. We always highlight leveraging, just like we do any other type system and threat, the .mil-PF across this problem set. And so when you look at training, which my Sergeant Major will talk about, and policy implications, all of them have a bear on getting after this problem set. And then the interoperability of capability, I tell you, is probably the most critical part. As I talk layering capability, you have to have a common C2 to where the operator is able to leverage those different layers, whether it's a sensor, a camera to slew to the effect, and then actually launch the effector, depending on what type of threat you're getting. Integration is the key to doing that. Go to the next slide. And so just to do a quick recap before I bring up Lieutenant Colonel Hester of what I highlighted to you. The threat is real, and we'll continue to highlight that, but again, I think you've seen that from looking at what we've provided to you. No silver bullet. Again, no one system is going to be able to defeat all of these threats. No one system that I've seen yet. And if somebody has that system, come see me. I'm looking to talk to you, and we have some money that we'll be ready to invest in if you can prove to me and bring out to one of our demonstrations that you're capable. Again, not just the material solution, it's the whole gamut of the .mil-PF to get after this problem set. Integration with our joint partners and our coalition partners so that we have a seamless detect sensor to shooter capability, giving us full domain awareness is where we have to move forward to. And then leveraging our industry partners. We know our industry partners very well. We work with them very closely. We highlight our problem sets, our requirement to our industry partners and academia to be able to get after this threat, because we can't do it in an isolation alone. Next slide. So now what I'd like to do is bring up Lieutenant Colonel Hester to talk how we get after this from a requirements perspective.
Thank you, sir. Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Hester. I'm the Requirements Capabilities Division Chief for the JCO. So I lead a few efforts for the JCO in support of General Gainey's vision for where we're going with counter small UAS. One of those are the requirements. The second is going to be training integration, doctrine integration, C2 integration, and what you heard General Gainey close out his last comments with was non-material solution development. So how do we get after the requirements for capabilities to mitigate the threats against small UAS threats? First, if you take a look at the slide, I'm just going to go overview the slide, and then I'll talk the process, and then you can reference the slide. Your left, my right of the slide are the inputs. Above it are two things. You see lightning striking the inputs. That is intelligence and the requirements that's driving the energy into the process in which we develop material and non-material capabilities. And then in the middle is just an example of the time frame that we utilize in order to go from identifying what requirements all the way to identifying solutions to mitigate the threats. And then finally, to your right, my left of the slide, you will see the outputs of the efforts that we've done over the year. So we start this process every year. It's an annual process. It's the JCO led with the services, combatant commands, and other DOD agency stakeholders. And the first thing that we do is that we identify what the threat is. So I'm a firm believer that intelligence, good intelligence, drives operations. So we have to start with the threat. So the strategic intelligence community and the JCO Intel team provide us a detailed threat of counter small US from 3 to 10 years out. And that's why you see the FY+3 in the yellow box. is because when we are developing our capabilities, we're looking 3 years out. We want to stay with or above the pace of technology that the enemy is using in order to use the small UAS threats. Once we've identified that threat, we take a look at the current capabilities that we have. We take a look at what we expect the enemy to be able to use with small US threats, and then we determine what that delta is going to be. That delta then becomes the gaps. It could be a number of things. It could be whether it's a capability, or it could be, I was said before, it could be a non-material gap. Whatever that gap is, now that becomes the focus. And just to let you know that, so that you understand that every process and every recommendation that we come up to solve a problem, it's agreed upon across the joint community, and it's solidified in a 4-star form. So all of the services there in the 4-star form approves that recommendation, and that gives us the permission to then move forward. So after we've identified those gaps, you can see we start with our material solution. And everyone wants to start with something new, but we look within first. What are the service labs doing? What are they developing right now? What is OSD R&E developing in an S&T effort? And what prototypes do the JCO have in the hopper that we're developing now? Will any of these capabilities enable us to meet that future threat? And if yes, we'll continue to develop. If no, then we'll look at other commercial needs or other DOD providers that assist that capability by giving them what the requirements would be. Once we've identified those, we then look at non-material solutions. What are those things we need to add to the material solution in order to enhance it or complement that capability to ensure that we mitigate the small US threat as we move forward? This takes about a year. It takes about a year of meetings, processes, governmental forms, and approvals. And then at the end of the year, we have a document that has an approved gaps. These are whether it's 1 gap or 20 gaps, hopefully never 20, but the approved gaps that are prioritized that tells us this is your focus when you start to develop capabilities. And then I'm going to skip material solutions, but I'll go to non-material solutions. You heard General Gainey speak several comments about non-material solutions. Well, if I give you a multi-million-dollar capability, but I don't teach your staff how to plan and incorporate it in your scheme of maneuver, or I don't teach your operators how to be proficient with the piece of equipment that I've just spent millions of dollars on it, or something to think about, maybe we didn't relook the policy that allows you to even turn that piece of equipment on, where there's CONUS or CONUS, then I haven't given you that decisive competitive edge that you need to win on today's battlefield. So like my team works on a non-material solution, we immediately started looking across the .mil PF, and we identified on the slide you see just a couple examples of areas of .mil PF in which we, the joint community, can focus on in order to provide solutions that don't necessarily cost a lot of money, but it still equips the warfighter to be effective on the battlefield. And then with non-material solution, I'll turn it over for material solutions to Colonel Mike Parent. But before you come up, I would like everybody to look up. All right? You have just been the first step of training for counter small UAS.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Colonel Michael Parent. I'm the Acquisition Division Chief. So I deal with the problem set of the material solution. It's been determined that material solution is required to get after what were the gap in the requirement based off of what Lieutenant Colonel Hester just discussed today. Please move 1 slide forward. So then we work with industry. We engage with industry through industry days, which you do on a biweekly basis. And we get with our partners to identify what is required to get after that gap, what is the requirements. We investigate those solutions with the industry and academia, come up with our assessments, either participating in other service assessments or conducting our own assessments. And this helps inform follow-on capability assessments and procurement, the buy, try, and decide, where after we have assessed it as being something that gets after the capability gap, we buy it, and then we let the services try it, and then they can decide if they want to continue to invest in that solution or they want to procure it themselves and they can go through that process. We too, in the A&R division, work on a kind of a 3-year cycle where it's 2 years of development and then 1 year of that operational assessment to let that buy, try, and decide effect work. We do this, the acquisition framework, we completely go through an acquisition framework just like any other program office would go through. We work with the Rapid Capabilities and Critical Technologies Office to ensure that we have program management reviews. Every dollar spent is used towards getting after a gap and getting after return on investment to make sure that we have solutions that help and support the warfighter and have joint equities going forward. Looking on the right-hand side of the chart, what we have done recently is we have a number of different demonstrations which really can demonstrate and show to the warfighter, to the solutions that are available for the services and the combatant commands. Low collateral effects interceptor, for example, the Air Force had that, was partnered with us on the first demonstration for that, and now we are moving forward in April of 24 for an actual operational assessment. We're going to buy prototypes, let the services try it, let the combatant commands try it, and then once they do that, they can make that decision to continue to invest. We also looked at handhelds because in this day and age, what we have learned is that every soldier, sailor, Marine, and airman is a counter small UAS defender. It is not just branch specific anymore. Everyone has to have some kind of capability and some kind of training to make sure that that happens. As a service, for some solutions, maybe an as a service works where we invited out the vendors, we gave them a requirement to defend a certain area. You bring the systems to defend that area and demonstrate to us with those solutions, can you defend that area as contractor-owned solutions, government operated? And we came up with a recommendation list that if a service is looking for as a service requirement, these are who we recommend to do it. Demo 5, we looked, HPM. We also worked with RICTO on demonstrating HPM, a very important and critical asset right now as we look at the different swarms and other one-way attack capabilities that are out there, and they down-selected to a vendor, and they're going through government acceptance testing and capabilities and limitations testing at this time. We also looked at EW baseline. There's plenty of EW systems that are out there, but at this point in time, we want to see, hey, what is out there? What data is it really collecting and using, and is it worthwhile to continue investing in, or should you divest in it? We looked at that with the services and collected data and helped them decide on whether they want to continue to invest in some of their solutions. And then the next 2 demos this calendar year was one-way attack. The second one looking at really a longer range, and the first one looking at supporting our UCOM folks to get them capability out to theater very quickly. We looked at a number of different solutions, all kinetic at this point in time for a 30 millimeter and also APKWS, and you're going to see that in a little bit in a video. A great, fantastic couple of demos. And then at each of those demos, solutions were purchased, solutions were procured, operational assessments are being conducted, and as well with CAS up on the top as well. So then for the way ahead, what's going on next? In June of 24, we have a swarm demonstration, looking after how their adversaries will try to overwhelm our air defenses, try to overwhelm our ability to counter small UAS. And we're going to look at that. We just completed the white paper selections, and now we're going to down select from there, and more to follow on the swarm in the future. Thank you.
Great job, Mike. So what I want to do now, before I introduce the Sergeant Major, let's go to the next slide. You've heard Mike talk a lot about capability. You heard Jonathan talk a lot about process. Don't get caught up in, hey, this is a lot of process. No, capability is out there now. We've sent several prototypes into the different AORs to learn from them, to continue to grow with that capability and continue to spiral that capability, and it's working in theater. And that's part of our motto is we take it to a demo, we work closely with the test community, ensure it's safe for our soldiers to operate, then we get it quickly to theater and learn from it in theater, whether it's HPM systems, laser systems, low collateral effectors, or kinetic systems, all are operating in theater, having success. Unfortunately, I can't show you those videos, the classified videos, but what I will show you are some of the videos from our demonstration. I'll highlight kind of what you're seeing. So go ahead and play the video. What you'll see first are some of our gun systems. We found that 30 millimeter gun is very effective against a small UAS. And what you see there is you see LPKWS rocket, about 40K for a rocket to take out a Group 3. We've sent several of those from the demo as a prototype out to support some of our partners and will eventually support our soldiers also as we continue to work to integrate it. What you see right here is an HPM interceptor, Morpheus interceptor that flies by the drone and fries the electronics in a drone and causes it to come down. So if you can think of having, and next you'll see a system, our EPRA system. We have 4 of these prototypes going to one of our units in same type of technology, HPM technology, fry the electronics in the UAS that cause it to drop out of the sky. And if you magnify that by several UASs, give you the ability. This is our signature system in the Army, is our Coyote interceptor, and several successful engagements in theater against Group 3 one-way attacks. We've continued to evolve that interceptor, low-cost interceptor. This is our low-collateral interceptor that we're leveraging a drone-on-drone type technology to go after other drones, whether it's net. You have some industry partners that are developing kinetic drone-on-drone type of capability that allows us to use this capability without the ramifications of a high explosive in areas we normally can't use it, like in the CONUS area. So that's just a snapshot of things that we're doing at our demos and that we've deployed in theater. Now I'm going to have Sergeant Major quickly talk to you about probably the most important part of this is the training aspect piece, and then I want to open it up for the last 20 minutes or so for questions.
Good morning, Sergeant Major Johnson, the JCO Sergeant Major. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about training. You heard Colonel Parent talk about every soldier has a responsibility for training when it comes to counter UAS. Can you go to the next slide, please? So with that, every soldier is not going to get the capability. Every unit is not going to get the capability at once. And that's where we can lean forward and do training at home station using digital platforms until we get material solutions fielded to the units that need it. So you got to start with doctrine. So the ATP, you have AMD publication, and then you have the Counter UAS Quick Reference Guide, are all things that soldiers have access to right now in order to get ahead of the curve and start getting familiar with the threat and how to counter the threat. The next one, we'll move up to the top left. We have 5 JKO modules that are available to soldiers that they can access online. And again, get familiar with how to understand the threat, how to counter the threat. And they also get an opportunity with the 5th module that was just added on policy. So they need to understand the policy aspect of it as well. All right? And I want to move to the most important part that I think is the Joint Counter UAS University. Previously, it was housed at YPG, Yuma Proving Grounds, but it's since moved to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and falls under TRADOC. All right? And at Fort Sill, the JCO is teaching 3 classes, one on basic operations, one on the planner's course for protecting installations, and also a planner's course. All right, so that planner's course gets your soldiers familiar if they're going to be working in a BDOC. So all those classes are available. First class starts next week on 16 October at Fort Sill, and that course is available through ATAR's reservation. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, the team, or Fort Sill to get your soldiers enrolled in that course. Last thing I want to cover is the MTTs. So for units that are fielding capability, MTTs are available to train soldiers on the capabilities that they're going to receive. And those MTTs are also available to assist units as they prepare for mobilization and deployment. And then there's also regional sites being hosted by Special Operations, FORCECOM, and our reserve components that are also teaching on this capability, incorporating new doctrine as we see TTPs from the enemy. With that, I'll turn it back over to Major General Gainey to start the question and answers.
Okay, team, coming up. Again, most think I have a difficult job. I got an easy job. Look at this team. Amazing, amazing teammates that really carry the weight here in the JCO to get after this tough problem set. One thing I'll leave with you, then I'm open up to questions. Got to give a plug for the Army, since this is AUSA. The Army is moving out. The Army has approved division set capability that encompasses the Coyote interceptor on a vehicle. You know, right now that vehicle is our MLIDS vehicle and will eventually turn into a single vehicle type capability to support our divisions and also capability for our installation sites. In CENTCOM AOR, we've put a lot of this capability, specifically fixed site lids with the Coyote interceptor, and I talked to you about a little bit about some of the operational assessment, whether it's laser, HPM, low collateral interceptor type capability to get after this threat. So again, I'll close with, problem is real, DOD is responding with capability. However, there's no silver bullet capability that's going to solve all your problems. It's going to take a layered approach integrated into a common C2 to get after that problem set with the foundation of training behind it. It's that easy. It's that easy. And we got to bring that all together. So now, we'll open up for your question, and my team of experts will be here to help respond.
Jason Sherman from Inside Defense. Earlier this year, NORAD requested some assistance putting together a counter-UAS capability for the National Capital Region. Can you give us an update on where that stands, please?
Okay, so with the National Capital Region, the Air Force has the lead on that effort along with NORAD, Northcom Service. JCO continues to supply expertise, support, as well as some funding in order to fund that, to meet that. So it's ongoing, it's in the process. Timeline of when to expect the next capability, you would have to refer back to the Air Force or NORAD, Northcom.
But just to add on to that, current capability is out there for the NCR. Now it's how the Air Force moves forward with how we integrate those capabilities to really what NORAD, Northcom wants is that domain awareness across the NCR.
Thank you, John Harper with Defense Scoop. Can you provide some more detail about Demo 5, the swarm demo that you're going to be doing next year, just in terms of how many UAS are going to be part of these swarms, what types of effectors you're going to be testing? You know, is this EW, HPM, kinetic? You know, anything that you can provide would be great.
Sure. So the next demo, Demo 5, is going to be in the June timeframe. We went through the process of sending out the white paper requests. Industry has responded with those white papers. We evaluated the white papers. The next step was oral presentations. We down-selected to competent vendors for down-select and for additional presentations. That has now been completed, and the next step is down-selecting again, which will happen in a few more weeks. We'll actually down-select for the vendors that participate. It's going to cover the whole gamut. So I can't tell you which vendors right now. I can't tell you if it's just EW, just HPM, just kinetic. It's going to cover the whole gamut. And we're going to really test out the vendors this time around, even more so than in the past. We're going to have a threshold and objective. That threshold's about 20 groups of 1s and 2s. We're going to go as high as an objective of 50. So we're really going to test out their capability with what they bring to bear and have them detect, track, and ID, but then also have a phase where they can attempt to defeat.
So which would be great. So hopefully we'll have some video. Instead of seeing one UAS fall out of the sky, you see 50 or more fall out of the sky to continue pushing us on that path moving forward.
Hi, sir. Sam Scove, Defense One. So two-part question. One on the Northrop Grumman gun truck that's being sent to Ukraine. Just wondering if you give an update if it's actually been sent and how it's performing. And then on a broader level, there's sort of a division now between the gun trucks with the jammer and the microwave weapons. Just wondering if you could tease out where you see the pros and cons of those two approaches. Thank you.
I can definitely answer that first part. So the agnostic gun truck did come out to our demo back in January, where the 30mm gun was very effective, received tracks from the radar that was being used to support it. Right now, that is going through the contracting process, and it was with USAI funding, and you can probably expect it to see on the ground very shortly, coming up here in the next quarter or so. It's a fantastic system, it's a 30mm, but as General Gainey mentioned earlier, we're finding great promise with 30mm. We talk about groups 1 and 2, even reaching out a little bit further. And if you couple that as a system of systems approach, because there is no one silver bullet like General Gainey mentioned, you do get great defeat capability.
And we've also throw a plug out to CENTCOM. CENTCOM recently did their Red Sands exercise where they had that same capability out there in their range and performed very well out there in the range. And essentially, they're taking that step further. What we're doing as demonstrations, they're doing demonstrations, working with our partners in industry to then, stuff that we've seen they're taking it out in the CENTCOM AOR employment. So I think it's fantastic. And then you have the Army with their MIFIX exercise, so we're seeing a scam. Now your second question, reference HPM or jamming. I'm agnostic to the type capability. I would believe is, as we get to more multiple, like I highlighted, that the HPM will provide a better capability if we continue to mature it and get it to that point. One of the things that I like to highlight with our EW capability, we continue to challenge our EW community because the threat is evolving there, like I highlighted to you, whether it's through autonomy to evade what we're doing with our EW system. So it's a constant challenge, iterative process. So if we can get beyond that iterative process with our jamming or leverage something else that would reduce our iterativeness would be great.
For the maritime and littoral environments.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that one. So as far as maritime, we're not involved there. Right now, the Joint Staff J8 Force Protection Division, I highlighted, I pointed at one of my old division chiefs. It works the unmanned system in totality, really continuing to codify the combatant command gaps and requirements, and then laying a path forward of what all the services are doing. But that mission set has not been provided to me to move forward with.
Good morning, Terrell Larry, G357, Headquarters Department of the Army. What are your primary training and testing locations? And then how are you looking to expand those efforts to support home station training for soldiers to get material kit in hand?
Yeah, so the training I highlighted is the Joint Counter U.S. University at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is establishing IOC capability with their first course starting on 16 October. So they're doing an installation planners course, a basic operators course, and a master planners course. Those are the three courses that they're doing at Fort Sill, and those courses are available through ATAR's reservation, and they reside under TRADOC. Does that answer your question? Yes. So some of the live training will take place at home station. Fort Sill, because of its expanse and range capability, they will train on some of those capabilities under the university. So there's the classroom portion of training, and there's the practical application portion of training, which will take place at ranges on Fort Sill.
And we're also, the team's looking at opportunities as the home station unit takes this embedded capability within the divisions in support of CTC rotations to have the ability to live fire this capability as part of the CTC live fire and then employ it inside of the box. So real world type work.
Good morning. Alton Osler with SAIC. Counter UAS as a service seemed like a very novel concept to bring capability to the warfighter. What's the latest update on counter UAS as a service?
Yeah, so I am a huge fan of counter UAS as a service, and one of our demos was counter UAS as a service. And so if you look at how we take capability development, take it to a demo, then make a recommendation for the services, I think Counter U.S. Service is the poster child of the first one. So for those of you that don't know, we had a demonstration where we invited industry to come in and demonstrate their ability to defend a site and with those capabilities. And what we found was they were very good at it, leveraging the capabilities, some that we use and some that they use. And so we at the end of that, I signed a memo directing the services to leverage Counter UAS as a service as part of your augmentation of capabilities. Now, some have moved forward with Counter UAS as a service. Some of the COCOMs have moved forward with the Counter UAS as a service. But as far as the JCO perspective, the JCO has passed that to a service now. So now it's a service procurement. I don't do procurement with JCO funding. I do RTD&E, development, prototyping. The services do the capacity with procurement dollars. So now the services all have that memo, and they're moving out. So I would tell you the Army in particular is contracting 2 counter U.S. as a service sites as their proof of principle assessment, that then they will then take the results of that assessment to factor it into their overall capability fixed site employment plan. I know SOCOM leverages it with certain industry. Air Force is leveraging it also at some of the sites in Indo-PACOM. So services at their pace are figuring their way through it, and really it's a service responsibility now to take it to the next level. Now what we are doing at JCO is trying to pull the lever on getting contractors to be able to complete the cycle of the counter U.S. service. Right now you still need the DOD individual to be able to, uniformed person to be able to be on the equipment to pull the trigger, even for these non-kinetic type systems. However, we're working, continue to get that ability down to a contractor to be able to do that, so it gives more ability to a larger audience to then complete the counter U.S. service.
Hey, Sam Scope again. So some of the observations from Ukraine suggest that we may need some sort of counter-UAS system at the company level. It may have to be mobile. I know we're sort of going through those conversations about what we want now, but if you give any insight into sort of the mobility and density of counter-UAS that you imagine. Thanks.
Although we cannot talk about specific operations that are going on out there, I will tell you this, that every warfighter needs to have a basic education of counter-UAS. So that was my demonstration earlier with everyone that look up. So every warfighter at every echelon must understand counter-UAS, the threats, and what it takes to defeat and mitigate that threat. And as far as capability, that depends on what your requirement in a specific area. Well, the Navy may not need the same requirement at the company or squad level as the Army may need, or the Air Force versus the Marines. So based on your requirements, right, the capabilities, but to let everyone understand that everyone needs a basic knowledge of countering small U.S. threat.
And in the Army, since this is AUSA, and I'm going to talk about what the Army's doing. So the Army's doing that. So right now, we've just fielded 2 divisions with counter-UAS capability that the intent is to go down to the platoon level with handheld capability and EW type of man-packable capability. Now, the next phase in FY24 are going to come the Group 3 capable. I talked to you about the M-lids and the eventual single vehicle lids that has the Coyote interceptor, 30 millimeter gun, and a EW type of effector on that vehicle will integrate into divisions to be employed at the company, brigade type level. So the Army has acknowledged that and is moving forward with an investment in procurement to do that. 2 divisions have already started with the intent to get to 10 division sets.
Hey, good morning, sir. Rob Williams, Army G2. Those division sets that you have fielded that you just spoke about, which formations are they falling in on?
82nd and 1st Cav Division.
Let me ask a better question. Which function? Electronic warfare, fires, infantry? Which soldiers are operating?
Yeah, so great question. Great question. So the individual Group 1 and 2 handheld EW type effectors is MOS agnostic. And so that's going to be on the division to figure out how they're going to employ it. So the PEO Missiles and Space Team comes in with the training package, and this is something we need to continue to work and continue to develop to field it to MOS agnostic soldiers, because we see that as a force protection problem. However, when you're looking at the Group 3, the loitering munition threat, the one-way attack threat, where we're going to bring in the single vehicle with the Coyote interceptors and the fixed site Coyote interceptors, that is going to be air defense soldiers that are going to man that capability. So they will be MOS trained at the fire center, fall in on that equipment, and then employ it inside of our air defense battalions that are now supporting the divisions that are being fielded right now. So it'll be a battery element within that 4-battery concept.
Good morning. Jamie Shawley, Horn of Africa. 2 questions. sort of. We've deployed a system, as you know, without the 140s, without the 14 series. So we need to fix that early as the initiative. Also, are you considering in the DOTML PF, as we go through this, all of the training that you're rolling out, are we considering an SQI or an ASI so we can track these soldiers? We know exactly where they are in the formations?
Yeah, so let me answer your first question. So all the expeditionary capability that are going to fixed sites aren't coming with 14s. So sorry about that. That's where we have to leverage, as Sergeant Major highlighted, the MTT train, because it is a challenge. I agree with you 100%, because we're asking a lot of those soldiers to deconflict airspace, and at the ranges we're able to launch these interceptors. You're getting into that MOS type knowledge. As far as I'll let Sergeant Major, I don't steal his thunder.
Yeah, so ma'am, that's a work in progress right now, but there is a plan through TRADOC and HRC to ensure that we're able to code those soldiers so we can positively identify who has received the training on the counter UAS systems. So it's still a work in progress, and I'm keeping my eye on it. We'll make sure it's done properly so you'll know who in your formation is trained.
SQIs are a long time coming, but we need to geotag these soldiers now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Agree 100%. One last question. I'm told to stop, but I'll take one more if we got one. Going once. Yep. Yes.
Hi, Michael Morrow with Breaking Defense. One of the earlier slides talked about like looking out 3 years ahead. I was just hoping you could talk more about that specific time frame. Is that kind of how far ahead you can see given how rapidly this technology is evolving?
Hey, excellent question. So when we look at the intelligence community look 3 years up to 10 years of what the future or emerging threat's going to be. The 3-year cycle goes and gives us enough time to identify those capabilities and utilize the POM cycle in order to acquire funding for the procurement later down the road. So 3 to 10 years out.
Okay, in closing, again, thank you. Appreciate the team and the great work by the team up here today. If you have any questions, any more questions, concerns, email me. Feel free to ask me any of your questions. I'll get back to you. I'll have some of my team specifically get back to you with your concern. But if you have a question or concern as a warfighter out there, don't hesitate to reach out to my team, and we'll put you in touch if it's a service issue with the service or if it's something we can solve. We will solve that too, because one of the last plugs I forgot, we also in the JCO do rapid response teams. We're doing one for one of our CONUS sites where they were seeing some issues with some of the UASs flying around. We're able to take some of our special gear out there, find out what the problem is, and then find out if the gear that's currently at that location is sufficient enough for the threat, and then the ability to add additional capability to that site to be able to better get after that threat. So again, thank you and appreciate your time.